Hey, and welcome to Jarvis Cocker's Corner. So, guys, today we are going to have a sizzling show. We have good guests. I have Stu here, we have Uncle Jimmy, and we have Tom, the journalist, number one. And today we will talk about, we will cover a little bit about Sir Bobby's funeral, and we will break down the Luton game, what worked well, and what can be improved. And we will cover a couple of the new transfer rumors, a lot of stuff coming on. And we'll talk about the Ratcliffe deal and the new injury crisis. So bear with me, and I'll be back in 1 minute.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. If we wish to make it louder, we will bring up the volume. If we wish to make it softer, we will tune it to a whisper. We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We can roll the image, make it flutter. We can change the focus to a soft blur, or sharpen it to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit quietly and we will control all that you see and hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your television set. You are about to participate in a great adventure. You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to...
Hello. How are you doing, Stu Wally? Good to have you on the show, guy, man. So
yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, no, I'm good actually. Fighting fit at the minute. Went to the gym this morning. Felt quite good. Had a bit of a kick about early on. So yeah, all is good in the Woolley household. Definitely.
that's good to hear. Good to hear. So yeah, do you work out every day or?
Yeah, so I go to the gym about 7 a.m. 4 times a week. Play 5-a-side twice a week, and then 11-a-side in the Worcester Premier League for the Super Vets, the mighty Tipton Town Super Vets. So yeah, I try and keep as active as I can. The other family members will also stay active. The wife likes to do a bit of running, and they do orienteering. The wife and the girls when they're at the weekend, so they go one way, I go the other way. To football. So I try and work out as best I can, not to bulk up or anything of that nature, just to stay fit and keep me healthy.
Nah, you don't need to bulk up. You look strong as a bull.
No, I wish, but no, I don't like bulking up. But no, it's all good, mate. How's things with you? You looking well?
Yeah, I'm well. You know, it's busy. I've been working all day. Came home, ate some dinner on the go, and got my kids to bed, and now I'm doing Jarvis Corner. So it's always in 110 kilometers an hour when it comes to me, and a lot of busy stuff to do. But I see we have someone on the door, and we have Tom, journalist number one. Welcome, buddy. How are you doing?
All right, guys. Not bad.
Welcome,
everybody.
Tom.
Everybody in the chat, Stu, Jarvis, all the viewers, everybody. Big up as always, people.
Yeah. Good to have you on board. Good to have you on board. The Jarvis Cocker's Corner panel is gathering at the moment. We are missing out on Andy Tate today. He had to go to work, but we have a fantastic substitute, Uncle Jimmy, but he's doing a stream at the moment, so he will jump on as fast as he can. So what are you drinking, Stu? Is it decaf or?
No, it's not decaf really. It should be at this time of night, but it isn't. It's an Intenso. So it's quite a strong. It's about a 9 with a dash of milk. So it is very nice, very nice. I should have gone decaf though. Really, this time of night.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm having a cup of tea.
Nothing wrong with a cup of tea. Yeah. Nothing wrong with a tea. Yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
It's a little bit too late for me for having a coffee. So yeah, what are you drinking, Tom? Anything?
Yeah, I've got. Maybe not a glass, right? But no. No, I've just got a bottle of orange juice at the moment, so
Yeah,
That's healthy.
it's not too bad. Healthy in its own right, I guess.
a bit of Oge. We all like a bit of Oge. Bit of Oge.
Yeah,
Nothing wrong with that.
OJ. So we have a lot of people in the house. I see the VAR room, so I'm so glad to see you all. I see we have Neil Driscoll in the house. Evening, everyone, he says. RJ, evening, everyone. So they are saying the same. Mark Davis, good evening, guys. I watched the funnel today on the funeral today of TV of Sir Bobby Charlton. Rest in peace. Now you will be sadly missed. Yeah, we will talk a little bit about the funeral today. We have Tom Charlton in the house. Let's go. We have Lilies United says Rip Bobby Charlton, greedy Glazers not in the funeral. Yeah, that's one of the key points we will talk and address a little bit about. We have Milos Mitic, dobre večer, or sta misli Jarvi o Pundu, u 100 miljoner sa Brusa u Simskom, something. Yeah, I think I will stop reading Serbian, but I think this has something to do with Ronaldo and 100 million. So
it's Bruno, isn't it? 100 million linked to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. So we will talk about that too. We will talk about that too. So thank you for the tip, Milos Mitic. And we have Jeff Bush, who cares? He say hi Stu, hi Jarvis, and probably hi Tom. And we have the legend in the house, Matty R, with the beautiful emoji of a rat with a stop sign. So we all know what that means.
Yeah, don't
RJ says hello to you also, Tom. Mark is in the house. Big up Tom, Jarvis, and Stu Wally. Neil Driscoll comes in and say, hey up, Stu. And
Jarvis, I think for the record, Jarvis, I'll go on the record right now. My name is actually, it's a very strange name, but it's actually pronounced Woolly, as in wool. So it's and that's how you pronounce my name, everybody. So most people actually would consider me to be a Wally, which is a numpty in English, Jarvis, a clown. and most of my friends who know me would suggest that yes, you are a clown, pal. So Jarvis, but by unfortunate mistake, you've actually got my personality to a T. An absolute idiot.
Well, I didn't mean to offend you, buddy. Sorry.
No, absolutely no offense taken. No offense taken. It's a strange name, isn't it, Tom? Back over in the UK.
Yeah. It's very rare. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's not a widely known one. There's not many of us around, but we leave a lasting impression and footprint on our fair planet.
Okay, Wooly.
That's it.
Wooly. I will try to remember. Sorry if I ever say wrong again.
Don't ever apologise. You can call me whatever you like, really, old pal. Don't you worry.
I see Stephanie Griffin coming in here with 20 likes. So people remember to like, share, and subscribe. Yeah, we need as much people as possible on the channel. The algorithms haven't been good with us lately. So help us out and hit the like. That's our currency. And we appreciate it very much. I see here we have the legend Jamie Wayne coming in and say, I love you all. We love you too, Jamie Wayne, legend of the chat.
Jarvis, it might be worth pointing out that Jamie's significant other half's been having some tests today, medical tests. I did notice that in the chat. So from all of us on the panel, we wish you, Jamie, and your other half the very, very best. And please keep us updated, old friend.
Yeah.
Everybody, just leave a love heart in the chat for Jamie Wayne. Give him some love. He needs it in tough times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we can just dig in. I think we have said hello to most of the people at the moment. There will probably be more people coming in after a while, but let's just get down to it. So we all saw the funeral today, going live on YouTube and on MUFC TV. And Stu, maybe you will say some words about Sir Bobby and the funeral.
Yeah, it's quite emotional, really, because it's been a very, very difficult day for me. I've been really fortunate to meet Sir Bobby on many occasions. The very first time was when I was 10. Through my uncle, really, who's no longer with us. But and he left a lasting impression on me, because a lot of people call him Mr. Manchester United, which is absolutely fine. But he was such a warm, caring, calming individual and person who always went out of his way to chat to kids, chat to supporters of all age groups, really, not just children, but of all age groups. And football today has become so detached in many ways. You're having to stand behind a barrier to get close to these players, or you're having to wait outside of Carrington in the freezing cold and just hope they'll stop and sign your autographs. And back then, they loved it. They wanted to interact with fans because they know, by playing for the club and by representing the fans, which actually Sir Bobby, suggested that Manchester United, playing for Manchester United and playing for the fans, was equal. It meant that much to him, and he understood, as I say, the connection between us. And I grew up watching him, never saw him live. And I'm deeply, deeply saddened by that, because I was born in 1970. So by the time he retired in 73, I think it was 73, I was only 3 years old. My first game was when I was 7. But that connection that not only did me as a fan and my friends, who were mainly Liverpool supporters, by the way, and Wolverhampton Wanderers supporters. I was the only Manchester United supporter in my school in a little village called Lilleshall, and I used to go in with my Manchester United shirt and get laughed at all the time. But even they knew, even at that young age, what a great player Sir Bobby was. So there's been lots in the press about certain elements not attending the funeral today. I know you wanted to touch on that, Jarvis. I'm kind of glad and grateful they didn't, because I don't think they've got any business being anywhere near a great. And it was great to see so many greats of Manchester United in the past, out there to support him. Ashley Young was there, wasn't he, today? Steve Bruce was there. But very, very telling, though, Sir Alex Ferguson was, I'm only at Manchester United because of Sir Bobby Charlton. That was the statement of the event today. I thought it was a wonderful service, beautifully done. Great respect shown by everybody and anybody in football today. So very emotional day. I just wished I'd seen him play just once in real life, just once, because to me, I was asked to pick an 11, a Manchester United 11, all-time great 11 a few months ago, and it was impossible. It was just literally impossible to do it. But there was one name that was in there, and that was Sir Bobby.
Yeah,
we wrestled with the likes of George Best. We wrestled with the likes of Eric Cantona, Dennis Irwin, because of what kind of formation you wanted to play. But he was always there, and he had a fun element as well. If you ever remember, or you haven't seen the Danish advert, the Carlsberg advert, they pub teams. They played for the Dog and Duck, and Sir Jack was there, Jackie Charlton and Sir Bobby, and it's phenomenal TV advert, which I still fondly remember. I searched on YouTube yesterday, actually, just to watch again, just for a quick reminder and a quick giggle about his lighter side of life. Don't be mistaken as well. He was in that dressing room. He was a tough character. He was a hard man to please, and so we should be. Off the pitch, an absolute gent, a gentle gentleman. On the pitch, animal. That's how it should be. I wish his family the very, very best. Love you, Bobby, and always will do, pal.
Yeah, good words. I think we all saw the funeral today, and we felt it. This will be a big empty void after a character like Sir Bobby, and there's not many legends left at the club now. We have Sir Alex, some of the ex-players maybe, but a lot of the heritage of the club is
You know something,
is
Jarvis? Do you know something, Jarvis? You make a great point because, in my humble opinion, once the great Sir Alex has his time, you'll never have any kind of legacy like Sir Bobby, like Sir Alex, like Sir Matt. You won't have those legacies again. I don't believe. Some people will say Roy Keane maybe, but there's not a torch that can be shone to those. And I don't know what will happen when Sir Alex, when his time comes, what people will feel about Manchester United. But nobody, after Sir Alex, I don't believe will ever have the gratitude that Sir Matt, Sir Bobby, and Sir Alex will have received from fans, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, it was a difficult day today, and it made me think. Sir Bobby, one of the last great ones. We have Sir Alex left, but in a way, now we have all this with the takeover. Ratcliffe coming in with the lifeline to the Glazers. Maybe they will stay for 10, 15, maybe 20 years if we are unlucky. So in a way, I know it's harsh to say, but in a way, it felt like now things are we are burying the past of the club, and now we are going forward, and we don't have any legacy left. In a way, where is the heroes? We have the Glazers, and we have players who are greedy, and it's a lot about money and self-image and about, I don't know. So anyway, it's a difficult time, and I hope we will be strong enough to move on. They say we will never die in a way, but
we need to be reborn. We need to be reborn now. I think Jarvis absolutely wonderfully put. I think we as a club need to be reborn. There will be some greats that people will remember: Brian Robson, Stevie Bruce, Pallister, Keane. There will be some greats, Schmeichel, absolute greats. But even they would admit they're not at that level. So I think it is time to see the rebirth of Manchester United. And it's a really good point that you make. And I haven't seen that point anywhere at all, not across social media, not across other channels that we represent, in this genre. I haven't seen anyone talk about what you've just said about the rebirth of Manchester United. I think you're right. Now, are we going to have the Glazers involved in that rebirth? Probably. I don't know. We don't know. We can't see into the future. But the announcement, when it arrives, if it arrives this week, like they said, and I'm sure Tom will be able to fill us in a bit more, actually, because he's closer to the pulse than I am. But if it does arrive, how do they do it? How do they announce it that gets people excited? And they've got to deliver, by the way. They have to deliver over an 18-month period. So I think it's a great point, Jarvis. I like that point.
Yeah. So should we use that bridge and jump over to the Ratcliffe takeover saga? That's your cue, Tom. This is the topic in a way. Talking about all the details, I'm not sure. It's just like in a way pure speculations at the moment. But Ratcliffe deal now set to be announced next week, apparently. So how do we feel about it as a Man United fan? Will he be the savior or will he be the villain?
I mean, you've got, in a way, it's the hope that kills you, but he is the only hope that you have left now. That is it. Because the Glazer family, under this ownership, you're not winning. You're not winning anything. They could stay for another 10 years. They could pump another billion in. You're still not going to win. It's as simple as that. Because with the Glazer family in charge of the football club, nothing will ever change. You will still have the same structure in place. You will still have financial experts running football operations, and you will still have a dwindling, overpaid, overspent squad, which is just going to inflate over years and years, and it will let every single manager down before them. And really, if we can take anything from what today has told us with the Sir Bobby Charlton, with the funeral, it's not even about that one of them had to attend. You could have left a message. You could have made a club announcement on behalf of yourself as an ownership group. You could have made a video if you want to stay all the way over there for your own security. You could have paid some tribute in your own way to Sir Bobby Charlton, and you chose to do nothing. And that is the sort of people that we are run by. It's nothing to do with legacy. It's nothing to do with the history of this football club. It's all to do with the future growth and the money-making machine that is Manchester United. That's it, at the end of the day. And with the way that Ratcliffe is coming into this football club and into this situation, he's having to do it in a way that the Qataris weren't prepared to do. And that was keep the family involved in the football club. Because you can't offer somebody near enough to £6 billion and turn it down when that's what you wanted. You can't, or reportedly wanted anyway, is the asking price. You can't do that at the end of the day. It's too much money to turn down for a person to do it if you want him to sell. So I think everybody got the clear message in the answer to the question of they just didn't want to sell the football club. They wanted to get a bit of money, they wanted investment in and to stay on for a couple more years probably until they get a bigger buyout later down the line. But with Ratcliffe and the sort of deal and everything, well, the word is that it will be likely to be announced next week based upon the Sir Bobby Charlton memorial and tributes have been paid today. And it gives the lawyers, it gives the financial experts, and it gives really the football club the time to plan how they want to prepare this. It gives them the week to really put the engagement out there, set up the statement, the post, PR. There might even be, a message from Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe that they might need to prepare, that they might want to prepare rather. So there's a lot of different factors to play into, but in these next 7 days, it will be crunch time really to find out all of the details really. And then as it's been alluded to already, the Ratcliffe deal hasn't been signed, but the papers have been drawn up. You just need to sign over your figures. That's it. At the end of the day, and that can happen by simply just getting out a pen and signing a signature. So take a couple of seconds and sign, sealed, delivered. So at the end of the day, the papers haven't been signed regarding the whole 25% takeover for so much investment. Plus, he's going to put so much money into the football club straight away for infrastructure projects. But at the end of the day, it's not got what Manchester United fans wanted. We wanted the Glazer family to leave this football club, and they haven't. And you can look at it from two perspectives. They didn't want to sell, so Ratcliffe's took it upon himself to say, well, I'll come in and then I will buy you out later on. But he has burned the wrath of Manchester United fans by doing so. And at the end of the day, the one thing that we can say now from what his deal entails is he's paying so much money to buy 25%, but he wants the whole football operations, and which he's going to get as part of the deal. That's the deal. The Glazers keep the commercial side, and Ratcliffe will take over, along with Ineos, the sporting and football operations at Manchester United. That's it. And at the end of the day, when you look at the basis of what we have right now as a structure, it's clearly not working. It's not built to win at the end of the day. And quite frankly, the sort of people that Ratcliffe has in his sort of portfolio to bring in, the likes of Paul Mitchell. Paul Mitchell doesn't sign to football clubs to make teams money. He signs to football clubs to win. He didn't go from Southampton to Spurs with Pochettino on a jolly up thinking, we're going to stay here 5 years and not win anything. They should have won something, that Spurs team, but they didn't. And he was a major benefactor of building that team to try and win something. But they didn't win, and they didn't get over the line. Jean-Claude Blanc, for example, the Ineos sports CEO, that they're looking at bringing in potentially to be the future CEO or chief executive on the board for Manchester United. He took Juventus from a mediocre Italian team and put them as the best Italy team and put them in big European football big time. And you can look at it even with Sir Dave Brailsford. I alluded to it earlier on Nuruddin's show on United Real Therapy when we were discussing about Sir Dave Brailsford. There's an hour-long YouTube video that you can go and search online. It's from a channel called Diary of a CEO. So Dave Brailsford has an episode on there, and if you want to know the sort of guy that will take over Manchester United in terms of the football operations, go and watch that video and you'll realise the sort of person that's coming to Manchester United. Because Sir Dave Brailsford, people associate him as being he's a cycling guy. He doesn't know football. He knows sports. And the one thing that you can tell from that video, if you watch it from minute 1 to the final minute, is he wants to win. He doesn't join big sporting ventures or projects without the objective of being winning. So at the end of the day, we have got people in here who is win commercially. No, you want to win sporting now. That's the difference. So with the 25%, it is what it is. He's coming in. He's going to take the football operations. But like Stu was saying before, you've got 18 months. Well, Man United fans, we will give Sir Jim Ratcliffe his time to do and implement what he needs to do. But if we turn back to this point and say this same stream in 18 months' time, and we're even further away from Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, even all the top teams in the football club pyramid that are going up right now, even Newcastle, Villa. If we're not in that pyramid with those football clubs in 18 months' time, then there's really going to be some mayhem in terms of the actual fan engagement with the club. And at the end of the day, the one thing that I think more testament to Ratcliffe for him to do, if he wants to get Manchester United fans on side, I don't want to hear words. I don't want to hear we'll build a new stadium. I don't want to hear anything like that. We want some emotional connection with the Manchester United fans. The one thing that the Glazer family should have done whilst they've been the owners of, which they've never ever done, go and visit the Munich Air Tunnel and go and read the poem at Manchester United. If it's on the Memorial Day or if it's on your first day in office, go and read that poem. I don't care. Make a big PR stunt out of it. Do what you want. Because out of what we've seen with today, with Sir Bobby Charlton's funeral, that's a tribute for you. That's a tribute. Yeah. So go and show the Manchester United fans why we should give you the time. Show us that you care. That's the one thing that we've never had. Owners that care. So give Manchester United fans that belief that they can trust you when they haven't been able to trust the Glazer family. And again, following on from that, tell us what you want to do with this football club. What money are you putting in? What is your plan for the stadium? What is your plan for the men's team, women's team, Carrington, youth team, everything? Do you want to speak to fan supporters groups? Do you want to engage with, supporters on major decisions around the club? If you were to relocate from, Sir Matt Busby Way for Old Trafford and build a new stadium elsewhere in Manchester, are you going to communicate with fans? These are all the questions that we need to know. And the only way that you're ever going to know this, like we all alluded to a couple of weeks ago, was put him down with a non-biased interviewer who's not a football fan, who's just a business consultant or a business interviewer, talk finances and ask him what he wants to do with Manchester United. That's what we want. I don't want to see Wes Brown sat in a chair across from Sir Jim Ratcliffe asking him questions about Manchester United. Do it impartially and do it properly. And at the end of the day, if you tell Manchester United fans, not what they want to hear, but we just want a plan. We've never had a plan for 18 years under the Glazer family. Give us something, Sir Jim. And yeah, it's not all what we wanted because we're not getting rid of the causing root of the problem straight away in the Glazer family. But what else do we have now? We have nothing. So, and I'm not saying it for patently because either you get on board or you don't. It's as simple as that. But I'll give Sir Jim Ratcliffe his time, but we need to see results in 18 months, like Stu was saying.
Yeah. Very, very good points. I like what you saying about the takeover. We want some clarifications and a plan. That's what we need for us to move forward. We've been drifting around in the desert for 40 years now, and nothing is happening. I have a little thing I read today on Twitter with the Swedish Rumble. He put out a long tweet. You know, Swedish Rumble. I like him a lot. He's very sensible. He talked about the NDAs and what the NDA, also non-disclosure agreement, what it means. And he told, and in this article, he explained that there are two types of NDAs. You have NDAs and you have a CA, and that's just a like a gentleman's agreement. And if they breach the deal, there's usually not no precautions or usually no how does you say it?
Repercussions.
Repercussions.
Yeah, repercussions if they breach the non-disclosure agreement. There's more like a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah,
So-
it's not legally binding. Yeah.
They can be legally binding. Usually, if you put usually with an NDA, and your Swedish guy is absolutely right. So's Tom Jenner. They're more like a gentleman's agreement, but you do sign them, etc. But they're not legally binding. But you can do legally binding NDAs when you're dealing with a purchase stake, for want of the better, of this magnitude. There will be some kind of repercussions if leaked, which is why everybody is just looking around and trying to grab what they can from the Twitter sphere or the atmosphere of data that floats around from country to country. Manchester United was always it's got eyes on it for anything. This has got the biggest eyes of the financial world on it straight away, because it's a big thing. Everyone was talking about this. Is hypothetic, okay? The world is, people were talking about the Washington Commanders sale at $6.5 billion. Well, the Glazers want to get more than that. They want to hold the world record for it. I mean, Jesus Christ, grow up, for Christ's sake. It doesn't work that way. But that's what journalists do. I mean, me and Tom are in the trade, so we both know. And we don't like it, do we, Tom?
Yeah.
Our industry can be a cesspit. It really can. It's horrible. But me and Tom both know, we've been around the industry for a long time. We're well educated enough to know that somebody will take the tiniest snippet, and if they can prove that very, very small snippet, then a story will blossom from that. And 9 out of 10 times, there's only a very, very small snippet that's correct. And that might be 2 words, Jarvis.
Yeah.
And then the rest is just bullshit. And that's what's happening. Now, I'm in a different type of journalist, as you know. I work superbikes and MotoGP, and we do. I do get to hear what goes on, within football, but not a great deal, not as much as say Tom does, or Mick, for example. But I know journalism and I know what it means, and so the journalists are just fishing. There are some well-educated guys out there who will know to an extent what's going on, but nobody will 100% know what's going on, because you've got to lock yourself up with this type of deal, because if you don't, it just blow up in somebody's face, wouldn't it, Tom?
Yeah, it would do, yeah. And
if you read here, this is what I'm talking about. The confidentiality undertaking is a one-way commitment. So it's like that Ineos undertakes to not disclose information about the takeover, while Man United or the Glazers is free to communicate how they see it fit. So basically, it's not an NDA, because it's a confidential undertaking.
Yeah,
so
it's like
can communicate free.
Yeah.
It's
in
legally
the
binding.
bidding process, when you had multiple parties that entered the firewall to look at the figures for United, that's when you need legally binding NDA agreements in place, because you could easily just have somebody who leaks the figures, who you could give it to anybody. You could give it to a Liverpool supporter, or if they're a billionaire, then they might take a sue just to leak Manchester United's figures. Who cares if you love that football club that much? That's sometimes how people work and people do things. But with the Ineos way, is because they had to use the NDAs in this process, the 2 big ones that we can rule in this case, in the Qataris and Ineos, both of them had to sign the NDA agreements, and they couldn't say anything, nothing. All they could literally say was if they bid it again, and that's it. They couldn't go specifics, details, nothing. And at the end of the day, they got to the point now where they're just in brief negotiations. Ineos still have to stick by the word, but the family can say what they want. They could say, you know, if Sir Jim's, you know, hesitant around Manchester United takeover, they could say these things about him if they wanted to. And there's nothing that Ratcliffe can come out and say, because if he breaches the agreement, he'll get sued. And put it this way, with how the Glazer family work, there'll be some clause or termination in there where, you know, you can rake him through the mare for all his assets or whatever. There'll be something dodgy in there. We know how the Glazer family work, legally speaking, anyway. But at the end of the day, they bought the football club in a dodgy way. And really, if we're being honest with how the process fizzled out, really, from buying the football club from day one to, well, we're not even at the end yet, but when we get to the end, it's all loopy, it's all dodgy. And it really wouldn't surprise me at some point in time, there's going to be some story in maybe 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 years' time that comes out and explains how this whole process actually was undertaken. Whether that be one of the family do an interview or Ratcliffe or whoever. Because as soon as Ratcliffe washes his hands of the Glazer family's ownership at United, he's free to say what he wants. He controls the asset. He's the owner. Then if he wants to say how the Glazer family really are, about, oh, well, they never give a crap about Manchester United and they never really cared about the fans, the supporters, but I'm different, blah, 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 and etc. He can say what he wants, free speech. But right now, he's got a gag round his mouth because you can't say nothing. And the biggest thing that you can't say, especially in business, anywhere, even if you just go for a normal transactional deal, is you can't fluctuate numbers. You'll know that anyway, Jarvis, probably with your business when you talk about discussing numbers and figures and everything. You've got to be very prohibitive in what you say and how you say it. Because if you mark in the wrong word, you could mean something completely different, but then you've meant something really direct. And in the same time, when they all entered the process, and there was the personal statements from both parties, and they said that, you know, we want to make take Manchester United back to its former glories, and use Sir Jim Ratcliffe used the words "put Manchester back into Manchester United." As soon as they made those words in those statements, the family shut them down straight away and said, "Look, if you're going to go away with this terminology and speak this ill-manneredly about us, we'll just remove you from the process." So then from that point onward, they never made statements, did they? They never said anything publicly. And it's not for the want of that they couldn't have. They'd just been told not to. And at the end of the day, like we're saying now with the whole legal loophole of it, at the end of the day, everybody in this case, apart from Manchester United fans, is a winner. Ratcliffe's a winner. He has a way to try and buy the club in a couple of years. The Glazers are happy because they get to stay. And ultimately, it leaves Manchester United fans carrying the can of £800 million worth of debt once again. So what's really changed? Nothing at this moment in time. But until we know the manifesto, we've got nothing to look forward to, guys. That's the problem.
The other thing, Tom,
there's no hope.
The other thing, Tom, no, you're absolutely right. The other thing, Tom, is we don't know who shares.
Hold your thought a little bit, Stewie. I just want to say hi to Uncle Jimmy because
hi, Uncle Jimmy.
Yeah, big up, Jimmy. Yeah, you had a late stream, or what happened?
Yeah, no, it was good. It was a long stream because obviously we haven't streamed for about a month, so it was quite a long one. We were touching 2 hours, which we never really do. We try and stick to about an hour and a half. So, but no, we just touched on all points United at the moment, mainly obviously ownership and the manager and just the football at the moment.
Fantastic. You can come in after Stu comments and then just join the discussion. I think you will catch up pretty soon.
I'll be very brief because all I was going to suggest is and ask is exactly how many shares are we buying from the Glazers, or is it some of the Glazers and is it some of the shareholders that won out? Because we do know there's still the potential for non-Glazer shareholders to push legal action against the Glazers. So we know that's still on the table. Okay. And that's just standard business. If I'm a hedge fund and I'm not getting the share price that I deem because the Glazers are playing fools for whatever, then I'm going to go and I'm going to sue, the Glazers for this. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the makeup of this 25% is. Glazer shares have been reclassified, by the way, because you've got to reclassify some of the Glazer shares from Class A to Class B. So if he's only, because as far as I know, Tom, and you might be able to tell me this, they're selling Class A shares only, but he's going to need Class B shares because they come with the voting stock, or they have 10 times the value of Class A shares. So they're going to need that. Now, we all know that conversion of any share takes a couple of months, 3 months. It's a long time. You just don't turn a share over in 24 hours. It takes a long time to convert that. So that's something else we need to know. And whose Class B shares have been sold? You know, which of the siblings, all the siblings, some of the siblings. You know, this is one hell of a complicated deal. It really is.
Very
right. And by the way, Tom's absolutely right. We're damned if we do, damned if we don't with this deal. I'm sure Uncle Jimmy feels the same on it. But the complication, the complexity of me, you, or anyone else dishing out 1.25 bill or 1.5 bill for 25% of a club is ridiculous. I mean, it's a farce in business terms. It really is, unless you've got that 5-year plan, and it's likely to be done over a 5-year period of buying the club and ousting the Glazers. So it kind of goes back to what Tom was saying. Before anything happens, you need a statement of intent from Sir Jim or whoever it is to come in and say, this is what we're doing, this is why we've done it this way, and this is the timeline of how it's going to be done. Now, I don't like it. I don't like it. For me, it doesn't make sense if you're Sir Jim Ratcliffe. To me, it doesn't. But the guy's a serial businessman. He's one of the best negotiators you'll ever come across. He really is. He knows his stuff. He spent $1.5 billion 8 months ago through Ineos and some fracking rights in America. He knows what he's doing, this guy. He knows how to negotiate a deal. So what's the overall cost of the club going to be? They ain't going to be $6 billion. I can tell you that for nothing. They're going to want they're going to want 8, aren't they, Tom? Because of the residual growth that's going to happen over the next 3, 4, or 5 years.
The way that he's gone about it, Stu, is he's paying more, but he's getting less for his money.
I agree.
But the way that he looks at it, Ratcliffe and Ineos, is he's overpaid for 25%, but he's getting the benefit of he's going to be in control of the football operations. Yeah. That's where he sees the more value to buying and overpaying for 25%. But again, like you were saying, Stu, if he goes over this 5-year plan, we need to see the trajectory of it. Give us a timeline. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to sit us there in limbo and we're not going to know when you're going to buy them out, if you're going to buy them out, or should you even ever buy them out, like, we need to know what's actually going on with our football club as fans. And at the end of the day, if you're not prepared to communicate on what the future is for our football club, well, then you're no different to the people that you're going to be sitting next to, or as many people phrase it as, getting into bed with. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, there is no trajectory. There is no hope at United right now. Because right now, guys, we don't have a plan. What is the plan? Under the Glazer family, the plan's never been to win the Premier League. It's never been to win the Champions League. We don't have a plan. But we need to see, and we need to know what Sir Jim Ratcliffe's plan is for this football club, whether it's at 25% or 69%. Give us a plan and tell us what's actually going on with our football club. Yeah. Because if you're not prepared to do so, you shouldn't buy this football club, because your legacy, your name, your business, everything will be dragged through the mud, just like the Glazer family have done for 18 years. And at the age that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's at, I don't think you're really wanting that at your age, mate. Going on to nearly, 70, 75 or whatever he is. I think he's at 70 years old now. Going on to the age that you're at, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, live your life to the fullest while you've still got a life to live. Because it's very, very short in the timeline that we have. So at the end of the day, give us a plan, give us a project, and if you like, maybe try and get some of the Manchester United fans back that you've lost along the way with the way that you've gone through buying and actually acquiring this 25%. But anyway, I'll hand the baton over to Jimmy so he can get his 2 pence in. Go on, Jimmy boy.
I mean, I agree with everything everyone's saying. I mean, it's I think for me that I'll start by saying, in terms of not knowing what's happening with the club, I think you find if Sir Jim gets the control that we're led to believe he's going to get in terms of the football side, you find that he's going to be a lot more vocal generally than the Glazers are. So I think you find more releases from the club generally, because I think he is going to try and play on this relationship that he believes is going to be able to build with the fans because of his background being a Manchester guy. So I think he's going to play on that, and I think that's going to lead to, it's going to force his hand in communicating with us a lot more than the Glazers have ever communicated with us. I think that's my belief. But secondary to that, I have a lot of hope just because you were talking about Sir Jim being a top negotiator. This guy is a serial business guy. He's not stupid. You know, this is a person who started a company that was virtually started this company from absolutely nothing. And if you look at the way that he's built the company, the way he's gone and acquired all these businesses to integrate into his business, to make it this empire that it is, for a British person, because a lot of those kind of businesses are normally operated by Americans. Let's be fair. You know, it's not very normal for a British person to start an organization from the ground and build it to the level that he's built his business. It's not very normal for British people to do that. So, you know, he's not a stupid guy. So I don't believe that he would be spending over £1 billion to put into this club and not have the impact that he thinks he needs to have in order to actually have his name being attached to whatever legacy he thinks he wants to build at this club. I think there's lots of assurances in terms of how much power he's actually going to have on the football operation, because a lot of people have said, oh yes, we've heard he's going to run the football operation, but we know Joe Glazer's still going to have to sign the checks off. You know, we know that, you know, every additional, you know, million here is going to have to go through the finance department. So if all those ways of operating are still going on, then he's not in charge of the football operation. So I believe that he's having the right conversations and he's going to have enough control on the football side to actually have an impact on the club, which will bring success, which for me is his then long-term plan to actually start trying to acquire the club in full. So my hope is that he is as clever as we think he is, and he's going to have the right control because of how clever he is in terms of how he structured the deal of him acquiring that 25% and actually going to make a difference in total for the football club, especially for us as football fans, for the football itself. So, you know, I've got high hopes for it, and that might be because we haven't got any other options. So, you know, I have to have hopes.
It's an interesting point you make, Uncle Jimmy, because I agree with you. You know, he knows what he's doing, but therein lies the problem I see of splitting the two elements of Manchester United apart, and that's the footballing operations and the commercial operations. So do they then recreate a new holding company? So not Manchester United Red Football, or they keep Manchester United the Red Group or whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called. And then underneath that umbrella, you have Manchester United Commercial and Manchester United Football as two almost separate businesses, but operating as one. Because if Sir Jim takes full control over the footballing side, who funds that? Yeah. Because you made a great point, right, Jimmy? A brilliant point about does Joel Glazer have to sign the checks? If that's the case, then you're right. There's a 0 point in Sir Jim having control of the football side if he's still going to go and knock on Joel Glazer's door and say, oh, by the way, we need to do this. But if Sir Jim Ratcliffe funds the football inside himself, either through his own personal wealth or Ineos wealth, then that has got to surely see a split between the commercial operations and the footballing operations.
Yeah.
I would say, Tom, what do you think?
Yeah. At the end of the day, he's got to split out his assets or his
Yeah.
money. Really, the problem with Ratcliffe is because he only has 25%. He's limited to what he can do. Why would you build a new stadium, basically for somebody? You be the financier, but you've only got 25%. Because there's no guarantees unless he has it signed, sealed, and delivered in a contract that I have to buy you out for X price at X day. Unless it's in the contracts and it's in the actual legally binding stuff, then what do you exactly have in Sir Jim Ratcliffe's case to say, well, I can buy you out? There's no guarantees unless you have it in written. But the problem where it is, as Max point here, where is his money coming from? No minority shareholder can invest private funding into United. Yeah, exactly. And the difference is, for the $300 million that he's putting in right now, that's his own money for anybody that wants to know. But where will that $300 million actually go towards the infrastructure of United? I'll be very honest with you, it won't even touch the sides. The sort of production figures that you need, it won't touch the sides. You won't even be able to do a tier, a stand. It might fix the leaky roofs. That's about it, and maybe stop, urinal going in the toilets. That's about it. But apart from these sort of plumbing and roofing scaling problems, that's all that's going to do. But unless and until the date that he actually finds control, or we know when he will eventually buy the rest of the club from them. For example, if he put a timestamp on it of 2025, for example, and they're gone, right, well then United fans from that point on will say, right, well, we know what period you're going to buy them out. What do you plan to do with the football club after? Because you have 2 years then to plan what you want to do with this football club. Because in 2 years, you can plan what you're going to do with the stadium, what you're going to do with the training facilities, what you're going to do with the men's team, women's team, how much investment do you think they need? You have the time really then to prepare, analyse and plan. And until we actually know, like we say, the dates of these sort of points around when he will buy them out eventually, if he's going to buy them out at all, because at the end of the day, we don't know the contracts. That's the problem. And with the way that it's all been manifested and the whole process has actually fizzled out, it wouldn't surprise me if you don't find out for weeks or months, really. Because at the end of the day, you're just going to devalue the asset that you're actually trying to acquire. In Ratcliffe's case, that's brilliant business, but the Glazer family are going to look at it as, well, if we bring this guy in and he takes football operations and he does a really, really good job on the footballing side, if the football's good, the commercial side will be good. Ascertain, we make more money. And suddenly, like me, Stu, and Uncle Jim were just saying before, the value of United goes from 6 to 8 straight away. You win a Premier League title, you might as well add another $1 billion onto United's valuation already. That's how the Glazer family will look at this. Unless, like we was just saying, he has it penned in at a price and a date. I'll buy you out by that date. But again, we don't know that date, unfortunately, people. But
we don't
until
know.
we
don't know all the details, Tom.
We don't know.
But I just want to add, AlienTenno, Peter comes in with a super chat here. We just have to address it. He says this will be just more depth for Man United, 100%.
I'll go on to Ineos, and Ineos holds debt anyway, so that's the only good thing. Eventually it will go on to Ineos, and Ineos holds debt anyway. Look, any business holds debt for cash flow reasons. That's why they do it, so they've got access to cash flow. Because as Tom will tell you, and Uncle Jimmy will tell you, and you know, Jarvis, when you look at the full asset sheet of your business, that isn't what cash is in the bank. It's your assets as a whole. It's what buildings you own. It's what stock you own.
Inventory
and everything. And so even Apple run debt on a cash flow basis. They have a short-term debt approach and a long-term debt approach. Ineos will do the same. You know, we haven't got to worry about debt at Manchester United. I know it sounds ridiculous. It sounds stupid, but you don't have to do it because you're not dealing with your own personal bank account where you look at it and think, bollocks, I've just dropped into my overdraft.
That's where the phrase "put it on the company credit card" comes from.
Exactly
for anybody in the UK that knows that phrase. But like you were just saying there, Stu, anyway, even if it doesn't happen where he takes the money and puts it onto Ineos's books, Just let the club run sufficiently. You can pay that debt down within 3 years. United
Easy.
make enough money to do it. And look, even if you make more money over the next couple of years, you might pay it off even sooner than you think. And then, like we say, guys, and like we discussed before, if United are debt-free, it's just as worrying to have a debt-free Manchester United as it is a nation state owning a football club. Because the only club in really the Premier League that has the revenues to compete with these super giant football clubs owned by nation states is Manchester United. That's the only club that on a financial scale can compete with them. And that's just because the brand and the name is that big and that loud that it can blow nation states to compete against them. But we don't currently have that sufficient model because, as Stu was saying, the debt is still there, but it will probably eventually be moved at some point in time. But right now, when he only owns 25%,
He won't move it. No.
he's not the decision maker because that's a commercial decision, not a football decision. So he's not in control of that. That's where the problem will lie in terms of he can't touch certain things until he then eventually buys up enough shares so he controls the club ahead of them rather than vice versa.
Yeah,
I think
a
lot of people.
I just want to address one comment first. I just want to see here. George Best says, "Can someone rewatch this and count how many times the word 'if' has been used?" we have to use "if" because it's just the way it is. We don't know any details, but we will just try to speculate and I will give the word to Jimmy and he can give his speculations.
Yes, I was just saying, for me, the debt doesn't. It's not a big thing for me. It's they pay off the interest. The debt can sit on. It doesn't. It bothers me sometimes, but a lot of the times I'm not really that bothered about it. But I think it is. A lot of people were concerned that Ineos haven't even given any indication as to what they are going to do about the debt. So I think that people are interested. Because a lot of people look at debt as fans, we look at this debt and we think, oh, there's debt on the club, and it's like, yeah, they pay off the interest. It doesn't matter. It's fine. It can sit there for years. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. I know sometimes it affects how we structure deals when we're buying players and stuff, and I know that can affect it, but overall, really, it's not that important. The debt can sit there as long as the interest being paid or whatever. But I think they should have given a snippet of what their plan is with the debt, because I think it's just another thing that puts fans' minds at ease about your ownership of the club, because people. So to some fans, this debt is really important. It's a big thing. It's a talking point. So I think they should have given some indication as to whether they are. How they are going to address the debt on the club, and whether they would be looking to pay it off or they would be looking to let it sit there and, like I said, and just not allow it to affect how they structure deals. So I think they should have said something. So that was a little bit concerned.
Just to address AlienTenno, he's having a pop at us saying that we're suggesting that Ineos will take the debt. You need to listen to what we're saying. We didn't say that. We said eventually, as the business gets purchased, someone has got to transfer the debt. It's still an irrelevance. It's an absolute irrelevance that the debt is, unfortunately. But whether people like it or not, debt doesn't affect the day-to-day running of the business. Because Tom will tell you, this, and Jarvis will tell you as well, and everyone in the chat will tell you, the bank would have foreclosed on it. If they were that bothered about the debt, they'd have foreclosed on it years ago. They don't care. Yeah. They know the value, as Tom says, of Manchester United as a football club. So you really can forget about the debt. It just doesn't matter.
But didn't the bank say they wanted their money back by 2025, Santander or something? I read. Tom.
Go and refinance it somewhere. Manchester United can go and refinance anywhere at any time, And if Santander were that desperate for it, which they probably won't, and I've read that as well, but. Who knows what will happen? If the banks, all the banks will do is hold their nerve, because they're holding on to a gold mine, a gem, and they know this.
I think we have covered what we have to say about this takeover. We don't have any facts yet, so it's just pure speculations. But it's interesting to see what's going to happen. So, but we got to move on. The time is ticking. We are on the hour mark, and we still have a lot to cover of the show. So, the next part of the show, I think we will talk about the injury crisis. There's been a lot of new injuries. We could read today that Eriksson is out for 1 month because of a knee injury. Haaland is injured. I don't know what his injury was, some ligament or
Not strain. He's got a ligament strain.
Yeah, ligament strains, and we also had Casemiro out injured. We have we have a lot of new injuries coming out, and Haaland, Van Bissaka was ill. Johnny Evans is injured. So basically, we have a second wave of injuries coming in on the club at the moment. So my question goes out to the panel. What's going on? Why are all these injuries occurring? And how can you fix this? Who wants to go first?
Games. I'll go first. Too much football. It's too much football. It's just too much football. It's too much football. This is a hangover of last season. Too much football last season. Obviously, we know the manager doesn't rotate very well either. So for our team, that doesn't really help matters. So I think it's been a string of things, and it's a hangover starting from last season, coming into this season. And this season, we're playing even more football than we were playing last season at this stage last season. So, you know, it's too much. It's just too much football. They're just people. You know, they're going. I know they're fit as anything, but their bodies can only take so much, and it's always gonna happen when you play this much football. This is why, for me, us getting knocked out of competitions, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I'm not chasing any cup, any trophies this season. I'm not even thinking about trophies. I just need this team to be efficient and start playing some proper football. That's all I want them to do this season. So if we end up just being in the Premier League, don't give a shit. Couldn't care less. So I think it's just a combination of things.
Yeah.
Is Tom going in, or are you going in, Tom?
Yeah, just go, Stu.
Yeah, go on, Stu.
I was just going to say that, Jim is absolutely right. But I also blame players as well, because there are occasions where you've got to take care of yourself. Muscle injuries, thigh injuries. Are you getting the right recovery? Are you doing the right recovery at home? Are you doing the right warm-up exercises before you go into the gym, or are you just getting up, having a shower and jumping into your car? People may laugh about that, but unfortunately, that's what you do. You have to protect yourself at all times. But we are playing way too much football at the moment. These international breaks, again, are just a pain in the arse. We're qualifying for the Euros against Malta. We're playing a qualification. It doesn't need to call up the first team to do that, Gareth Southgate, but he does. He doesn't need to do it, but he does. And the players have got to come around and turn around and say, I'm not going on international duty because they don't pay my salary. Manchester United does. Unfortunately, players of today, they think it's brilliant to amass 90 or 100 caps for your club. But what have you got to show for it? Steven Gerrard's got 104 caps or whatever for England. He's got F4 to show for it. This is the problem. We dish out caps like confetti. Bring in the younger kids. Bring in the Ezra's, and the lad that scored for Chelsea on Cole Palmer. Yeah, take them in. Yeah, Rashford, stay at home. Maguire, stay at home. You don't need to be there for Malta. You don't. I think Liverpool and City play 2 weeks on Saturday at 12 o'clock. 48 hours or 72 hours after the South American qualifiers. 72 hours after the South American qualifying, they've got to fly back. It doesn't help these players.
No.
Whatever, people think, we are just human beings, we're flesh and bone and we're sinew. So these players have got to start taking responsibility for themselves, but they don't, because the modern football is all about being in the spotlight. They love it. They feed off it. That's their adrenaline. Whereas Fergie would have got Rashford in or Eriksen in. You're not going to Denmark. Why? I've noticed you've got a little potential. You're just about to tip in the red zone. You're not going. You're injured. That's it. You're staying here. We don't do that anymore. We tell these players what they've got to, we don't tell these players what they've got to do anymore. There's no vocality. It's not really a word, but we'll go with it. There's no vocality at all in the press from managers to say, I'm fed up with, international breaks. I'm fed up with this. He's not going. Tough. When was the last time you had a club manager fall out with Southgate? Never.
Yeah.
Never.
No.
Wenger was always.
Sir Alex used to fall out with the England manager or
Wenger did it
break.
all the time. Wenger did it all the time. You don't hear about that anymore because the players, they've got so much power now. They go and they do what they want. Somebody's got to get a grip on it. And the first big club that does it, that gets a grip on it, others will follow.
Yeah.
Real Madrid will follow. Liverpool will follow. Jurgen Klopp has moans and this and that, but he moans about the fixture schedule, not the international breaks. And rightly so. We should be moaning, by the way. And so should Guardiola moaning about Liverpool and City playing at 12 o'clock. It's just ridiculous, that is. I mean, it really is ridiculous. And so Uncle Jimmy's right, but I also think the players have got to take great responsibility as well.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on the injury crisis, Tom? Is it other elements that we haven't mentioned that you want to add?
Witchcraft? I really don't know. There must be some sort of curse on Manchester United's season this season anyway.
It feels like that. Do
you know the ironic thing is, right? Out of all the players that have been injured all season, right, Mr. Injured hasn't been injured once. And we all know who that is. This is how I can just sense there's something, dark arts.
Who's Mr. Injured?
Glassman.
Come on, last man. Anthony Martial, come on. The guy's his bones are made out of candy floss nowadays. I don't know how he's not picked up one injury in this whole injury crisis. It's a madness. It really is a madness. But look, out of all the players that we've missed and everything, most of them we've had back in spells. But for some reason, the manager's just not chosen to play them. We've had Amrabat who's had his setbacks, Mount's had his setbacks. Haaland couldn't play for the first 4 or 5 games of the season. Players have had the setbacks, but then they come in. But the problem is they're not coming in at the same time as each other. That's the issue that we've got, especially with the injuries. But the way that I perceive it anyway, kind of similar to what Uncle Jimmy was saying, where last season we burned the players into the ground, fighting on all 4 fronts, chasing really 4 trophies. I mean, we went to Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. Everybody was claiming that United are in the title race and everything. We couldn't have been further away from the truth. You go away to Sevilla, I think there was one time up in Europe where I think it was we played Reading at Old Trafford, then we played a weekend game against Fulham or somebody, I think it was. Then we flew out to Seville on the Thursday, and then we had to play the 12:30 kickoff on the Saturday. It was ridiculous.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It was absolutely ridiculous. And this isn't just this season. There were a couple of years ago with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It was in COVID times. They went and played over a European game. I think it was against Lask, which is, I can't remember what country it's in anyway. I think it's in Croatia, if I'm not mistaken. Or
madness.
Further that way of the field. And then they had to play the 12:30 kickoff on the Sunday. The Saturday against Everton away. And I'm thinking, the actual listings of it is ridiculous. But the problem is, UEFA and the Premier League, they don't work hand in hand to create their fixtures. So, it's safe for players, but also it still makes them revenue money. And the problem is you have so many different broadcasters now that want TV right deals, everything. You've already got the big 2, Sky and BT. Apple will want TV rights soon enough. Amazon already have them, and they want more of them. DAZN will probably follow suit and jump into the mix at some point. There's 5 main broadcasters that are going to want TV rights deals. Yeah. And you can't sell them to everybody. But what you can do is you can just create more games. That's what you can do. Or you just pile up the fixtures. And at the end of the day, the way that the did it, especially with, say, the Carabao Cup for the last couple of seasons. Why play the semi-final as 2 legs? Just play it as 1 leg.
Yeah.
One leg. If it goes to extra time, just play penalty straight away. No extra time. And then they want to cripple the players even more by playing 10 extra minutes, or in some cases, I think it got to one point there was 16 added minutes in injury time. And I'm thinking, it's a quarter of a game, quarter of a whole game. It's ridiculous, the amount of it. But what do they expect from fit individuals? But it's high performance. That's the problem. High performance individuals can't strain on for this long. They really can't. And the stat from last season, it was absolutely scandalous. I think we played upwards of 60 games, was it? In a whole season. And there was a World Cup involved in between that where most of our players went. So there's another 10 games. That's like 70 games in a whole season. It's absolutely ludicrous. And then this season, you've just blown the fixtures up together. I think you get to December, we play 5 games in 10 days or something stupid like that. It's absolutely crazy. And at the end of the day, how do you expect players to actually have the recovery time when, A, you look at our squad right now where it's on the peripheral of actual thin. We're on thin ice, really, with a lot of the players. Yeah, and at the end of the day, you bring a player back like a Varane or somebody, the next weekend, they end up getting injured and then they're gone for 3-4 weeks. But then you rush them back and you might be able to get them back for in 2 weeks' time, but you need them. You need the numbers at this point in time. So you're going to have to rush people back. And the problem with footballers, like Jimmy and Stu were saying, was they're not protected enough by the governing bodies or even just by the personal entourages. Football agents, I think, really should play more of a part in the landscape of football. But even in saying this, when you've had Gary Neville blow up on Sky Sports talking about let's bring in a football regulator and let's regulate the league's ownerships and blah, blah, blah. Regulate the rules around offside, around handball, clarity of it. Regulate the actual ownership, like you were saying, Gary Neville. But then also regulate the amount of fixture congestions you put in your place.
I think so. I think that's really important. Yeah.
Cover the whole game.
Absolutely.
Football's changed from 20, 30 years ago now. Everything's changed, but the governing bodies haven't changed with time. That's the problem. And the regulations sit in the same category. Yeah, go ahead, Stu.
The other thing, Tom, is that they're going to have to change the way that they go about their stamina training as well. Traditionally, you didn't really train for stamina in football. You didn't necessarily need to. You train for the intensity, but not longevity.
Yeah.
Now you're going to have to. It's almost stop-start, isn't it? Stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. Now you're going to have to train for longevity, and you're going to have to train for intensity. And for whatever, I don't want to go back to the takeover bit, but one of the small shining lights will be is Brailsford and its team know all about intense longevity in terms of their sporting knowledge, and they know all about this. But other teams are going to have to catch up, and we are going to change our way. You can't train anymore for 90 minutes. You've got to train for 115 minutes worth of football now. You have to do that per game. You can't do that. And you can't just suddenly find that extra 25 minutes by training the way that you train. You've got to train differently.
That's facts. That's facts, yeah.
And it's going to be very difficult, by the way, to do that and to push a training schedule in that you're really talking of high intensity, because all know the problem with high intensity at the very, very, very beginning of high intensity training. That's where you get all your muscle injuries.
Yeah.
That's what happens. And then when you get muscle injuries like a cruciate knee ligament, if any of you have ever had it, you'll realize then your calves are weaker and your hammies are weaker and your quads weaker because of that particular. So you've got to find a way of strengthening that. Again, Brailsford and his team, I don't want to harp back on that, but he will know and he'll be able to find a way of doing that. But he's right. Look, I mean, I played in muddy pitches on the 70s, and I know, the football boots were a lot heavier, and the balls weren't great. If you've ever headed, and I'm sure you guys have, a Mitre Delta or an Ultimax on a freezing cold Saturday afternoon, I tell you, that was a tough ball. But we are going to have to completely change the way, over the next 2-3 years. And we're also forgetting the fact that, is it 2025, this all-fangled new Champions League system starts? 32 teams.
2025, yeah.
Yeah, 32 teams or whatever it is. And you're going across Europe. You know, pretty much every week you're going to be traveling to Europe. You know, its games are going to grow. We know now that Saudi Arabia in 2036 has got the World Cup again. We've got another Winter World Cup. You know, it's all money driven. Everything's money driven. Boxing is now really all about money now. It's not about
there's no boxing anymore. Biggest fights are the non-fighters. You know,
nobody cares. No, nobody cares. You know, I think you know, Tyson Fury's defended his crown 6 times. That's all. 6 times in his career. You know, because he can't be bothered to fight the fights that needed to be fight. And you're going to have this with football. The game that we saw yesterday, you won't see that in 2 years' time unless they recondition themselves. Because I mean, that was a phenomenal game of football. I think it doesn't matter who you are. You know, if you're a football purist, you love that yesterday. Which is brilliant.
That was some very good football. Very, very good football.
Those players today will be like, you know, wow, I felt that game. And so, you know, we've got to relook at it. You know, everyone's got to relook at it. And it's all about structure, isn't it?
My thoughts of the injury problems. I think we have to do something with the training facilities. I think they are below par at the moment. They were top notch in 1999, 2000, beginning of the 2000s. Now we are in 2023, and like Ronaldo, he brought his own ice bath, and you know, the players. If you train in a smelly old gym, it will be like a smelly old gym, and people won't take it seriously. We also have a lot of games, as Jimmy mentioned. Last season, Bruno played over 6,000 minutes of football. If you divide that by 90, you come up to like 66, 67 games, full 90 minutes. And we had 2 other players, I think it was Rashford and De Gea, who was also on the edge of 6,000 minutes last season. So there's no doubt that we are experiencing a burnout in the group of players. They have been pushed too far, and it's not only United. You can see it in other clubs too. They are experiences a lot of muscle injuries and fatigue injuries. So I think the FA, the UEFA, even the FIFA has to think about protecting the players a little bit, because they always come with the new ideas how to add extra games. We have the FIFA with the UEFA with the what do they call the new qualification thing in the international games? Something stupid league that no one cares about. Nation League, we have extra games, and as Tom mentioned, you have two games in the semifinals of the League Cup, and now we will come with the new Champions League, as you mentioned. So where will they cross the line? Where will it be enough? Because I think we are heading to that line at the moment. We are balancing on an edge.
But what's that? What it's doing as well is, sorry to interrupt you, but just because you've mentioned it quite specifically, I think they need to remember that it's dropping down the quality of football that we see on a week-to-week basis. Because when teams are having to change the way that they play because of injuries, constant injuries to players, it's disrupting the rhythm of how the league used, because the league used to start somewhere, then it used to gain this trajectory, and then you'd see it build to this intense competition. But that's all, it's not the way it's going, because injuries are just people, a team can do so well and then they just drop because of injuries. And then it just disrupts the whole rhythm of the league. So I think it's destroying the quality of the football.
Yeah, it's a really good point, that. And I think it was Ivo Bosic earlier, if I've got his name right. I hope I have. I apologise if I don't. He said that you should never turn down international football. Now, in principle, I agree with that. I do. I've got absolutely no problem with that statement. But actually, reality is different. If you are struggling for form, there's an argument to suggest you could gain form playing for your international team. But if you're struggling for form and you're struggling maybe with an injury and you're carrying on playing because the gaffer wants you to play or you're too stupid to, and by the way, players are dumb because I've done it myself. You know, you play with an injury because you don't want to miss a particular game and you just make the injury worse. Players won't, or are too scared to lose their international place. But sometimes you've got to go and phone up the gaffer and say, look, you know, listen, Southgate, I've got this injury. I'm not playing particularly well. Let me get myself back into form. It's not going to hurt you in the short. It might hurt you in the short term. But it won't hurt you in the long term.
No.
But these players don't care about it anymore. They're not bothered about anything but their own self-importance. And that's the trouble with footballers today. They're so up their own arses because we as fans and everyone else, he will know. I mean, I've not done sports science, so I couldn't. But look, motorcycle racing in particular, you get arm pump, so you have a particular problem because you're turning on the throttle all the time, and your grip loses its strength. You know, and that's just a very small injury that you get with motorcycle racing by continually twisting the throttle and holding the throttle in that position. You know, footballers are exactly the same. So it's very interesting as to why we've got it. But we do, you know, players have got to take responsibility as well. And as I say, they're more concerned about their own, you know, themselves, how many caps they can look back on, you know, in their career and stuff like that. Whereas really you should be looking back at what your medal table is like, not what many caps you've got for your country.
Yeah. I think you made a lot of good points there. I think we have said had our say about this injury situation. It doesn't look good for Man United at the moment with all those injuries and on top of what we got now. So I think. Moving on, we will face a lot of difficulties. You could see Spurs when they had a couple of injuries. They lost 2 games in a row. Same with Newcastle now. They are gassing out because of a lot of injuries. And as Jimmy mentioned, the product of football is getting worse, and it of course it affects the results. So just speaking of results, we had a game against Luton this weekend. We have talked about the game. We have seen a lot of people analyzing the game, but let's just break it down. What do you think worked well, and where can we improve going forward? Jimmy?
Our best performance this season by far in terms of controlling the game. And I know everyone said, it was only Luton, but, you know, we're not going to play against Real Madrid when we've got Luton in the fixture. So, you know, you play who you play against. So I think it was the best performance for 3 reasons. One, and it's funny because in the morning I did my little Uncle Jimmy Takes video. And this video that I did was specifically, I was complaining about the fact that the team doesn't do the very basics. And I was saying, please, guys, just give me the very basics of football. So it's almost as if the players watched my video and they went out and performed. And because it felt like they were addressing every single one of the points I was making in my video. It felt very personal. So I was personally pleased with the performance. But anyway, for 3 reasons. The first reason is from the first minute, there was no unnecessary mistakes. They weren't doing this thing that they do, which they do from the start of the game. They make stupid mistakes, even if in the first 10 minutes they don't lead to anything. But the mistakes are so obviously stupid that you think, why is the manager not telling you off for doing that 3 times in 10 minutes? They do this really frustrating. I play Sunday league football, and I would never make those mistakes. I mean, I'm not a professional footballer, never have been. But anyway, they weren't making stupid mistakes. The second thing is they kept the ball. They worked really hard to keep the ball, and they didn't force anything. They did not force anything at all for a long time in the game, and I like seeing that, because sometimes I know that Ten Hag wants to go play on the front foot all the time, and the players are forced to try and force some things to happen when it's not there to happen just yet. You need to build it and work at it to start creating things, and I saw them doing that. They were very patient. It was very patient build-up, and that's why they kept in control of the game. The patience was very impressive, because that's what I've been asking for. And the third thing is, when they did make mistakes and they lost the ball, the transition was perfect every single time. And it was always, for me, and I'm old school with football in this sense, if a player loses the ball, the responsibility of triggering the transition is on them. I don't care if you're on the floor, you get up off your ass and you move and you start trying to get that ball back. That's on you to do.
Yeah.
I was seeing that every time anyone lost the ball, it was them that start the transition back into defensive shapes. And you could then see that everyone else's defensive shapes was building off that player who's actually just lost the ball, because they've gone straight back into defense. And it just makes everything work perfectly when you transition into defense. So when I'm seeing these very basic things that I've been asking for, I was happy to see it, even though it was like a training session, because Luton were very poor. Let's not make no mistakes about it. They were a very, very poor team, especially for me. They had no structure whatsoever in either way, going forward, defensively. There was no structure. We should have scored 3, 4, 5 goals in the first 25, 30 minutes. I was shocked that we couldn't score. So, yes, it was a poor team we played against, but I was glad to see the basics being done right. And I think that's something they can build on going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I like your take on the game. For me, I think we were a little bit slow and imprecise, and I believe the players don't see the openings and understand that the ball will create the openings. I think we play yourself into trouble by being imprecise. I think this game, Erik ten Hag had a game plan. He tried to double up on both sides and get crosses into Haaland. But unfortunately, Haaland was all by himself every time the cross came in. He was up against at least 2 center backs and maybe 3.
All the time,
yeah.
every single time.
And that's why you need to be precise. You need to make the ball have more tempo. You need to be more precise, and you got to drag the center backs and the fullback tucking in out of position and create space for Haaland. But we can't do that if we only attack on one side slowly and then comes the cross in. They are all prepared for what's coming. So for me, I think Ten Hag needs to address this and make the players understand that you have to play the ball. Let the ball go. 1 and 2 touch all the time. More precise, have more tempo on the ball. Maybe cross on to the other side and go again. Don't take the cross just because.
That's why, Jarvis, just sorry to interrupt you, but that's why I think this is why you have to have, it's so good to have aggressive midfielders, because what aggressive midfielders do is especially when you have dynamic aggressive midfielders who can play all the 3 midfield positions, if you like. They're very good at knowing that they need to be there to put pressure on the second defender so that the striker is only having to deal with the last defender.
Yeah.
If your midfielder is aggressive enough, they are always thinking about assisting in the attack, because that's their job, is to make sure that they're removing as many obstacles from the attack as they can. And in a lot of times I always say Caicedo is very good at that. He's very, very, very good at that job. Whether a cross is coming in on the ground, up in the air, the midfielder is there, put pressure on the second defender, so the striker is then just maneuvering the first defender, last defender, if you like, And it gives him more chance of having more spaces to actually, take his shot or lay it off, maybe back to the midfielder for them to take a shot. Whichever way it is, but it only works if your midfielders are really, really aggressive on every time that the attack goes into that final third. Your midfielders are there, overloading the attack, and they can, they can be that force. They're almost like bouncers for the striker, so the striker has less troubles to deal with. We don't have that.
Stu, how did you see the game?
I kind of saw it the way that you guys did, but I was quite intrigued by it, to be honest, because he did. Although he set up the same 4-3-3, whichever you want to, or I know he calls it 4-2-3-1, etc. But
4-3-3, 4-3-3 to me.
It is, yeah. And he did kind of like double up on the wings, and that was where our problems lie. Is the wing side. Plus, we don't use the ball speed. I'm not talking about tempo. I'm talking about ball speed. So when we're passing the ball, we don't appreciate the speed sometimes. So we're a little bit slow off the mark when the ball comes to foot. We're not kind of where we should be. So, if you're zipping it in, we're not appreciating the touch that you need to do it. So if you're zipping it into me, I've got to open your foot up, let it just cushion off your foot, and then it'll give you the 4 yards that you need or 5 yards that you need. We're not appreciating ball speed at all.
Yeah.
The balance was right. The balance was good. And our kind of ability to retain possession was good. But herein lies our major problem. I talk about it all the time, and I'm going to talk about it again like a broken record. Our two wider players, okay, whoever it may be, it doesn't matter who it is. If it's Rashford Garnacho, if it's Anthony Garnacho, Anthony Rashford, doesn't really matter. We talk about Haaland being isolated by 3 centre-backs against Luton in particular, okay? Yep. And that's absolutely right. But you can absolutely nullify that immediately by allowing the fullbacks to get around our two wider players. And our two wider players tucking in, which means they've got to be marked. Someone's got to mark them, and the fullback won't mark them. Or the wing back won't mark them. One of the centre-halves have got to do it. And that will allow the space that Haaland needs or needed to get in and around inside the 6-yard box. Okay. Now, we know that Reguilón can put a ball in from 25 yards. We can put, deep, or we can put a ball in from 10 yards deep off their byline. We don't have that ability on the right-hand side. Whoever plays there, we have an inability to cross the football from a right-hand side. Now, somebody like Haaland, he will feed off an early whip. He really will. So if he gets in between two players, okay, and Reguilón delivers that ball just at the right time, Haaland will get there
first. Yeah.
Whether he scores or not is a different matter. He will get there. His chance on Saturday was the first time I was massively critical about his attempt. He should have stooped and headed it. He would have buried it. Absolutely buried it. The keeper would have had no chance. But instead, he jumped and it come off his hip. Yeah. So he didn't even let it drop to go off his hit the volley. But I would have stooped. I'd have got the header in, and the keeper would have had no. The keeper would have been doing that, and Haaland would have been peeling off, and he would have scored. The Garnacho issue. People are having a go at Garnacho. He should have struck it first time. He should have. But what he did, when you look at the camera angle behind him, he whipped it around the goalkeeper, and he was just about to shoot, but the defender got a good toe in, which is what the defender should be doing. He was alive in the box. So, but Garnacho will learn all this. Haaland will learn all this. And we've spoken about young players and their ability to see the bigger picture rather than the smaller picture. You can't always see, in real time. You've got to think about where you need to be at any given time on that pitch. And that's why Uncle Jim is right. And somebody was wondering about what the basics are. I think somebody asked a question, forgive me. I think it might have been Brendan. Yeah, I think it was Brendan. What Uncle Jim is talking about is getting hold of the ball and moving it and not losing it, not losing possession, keeping possession. Now, whether or not we gain 10 yards, we gain 15 yards, or we lose 5 yards, it doesn't matter. It's all about the ability to hold and control the play, which we did. It's the first time we have actually really controlled the play. What Uncle Jimmy was getting at is we weren't as forward thinking as we should have been. There wasn't any real pace. So I'm talking then about ball speed. So when we're using the ball across the ground, we're not anticipating the pace of it. We're not identifying with our eyes how quickly the ball's coming into me and what can I do with it. So that's what they're talking about, Brendan. It's the best way I can kind of explain it. So, was I pleased with the overall result? No. Oh, what we're doing wrong? Right. What we're doing wrong, and I'll be very, very. Honestly, Brendan, it will be very, very simple. We're not using our brains. Okay, we're not using what you and I would do in any normal situation, what Uncle Jimmy would do in any normal situation, and what Jarvis would do. We're not using our brains and thinking. We're not thinking two or three passes ahead, which any elite footballer will do. Uncle Jimmy plays Sunday, I play Saturday, Jarvis has played. We all play football. It doesn't matter what level you play. When the ball's coming to you, you're watching the ball come to you, but you're also thinking ahead. We're not thinking ahead. We're doing our very, very, I am being specific, Brendan, and we're not using our brains as much as we should, okay? And common sense is the biggest part of football. Your brain is the biggest part of football. Your legs are a small part of football because your brain's telling your legs what you're going to do. So if you can't do and you can't identify in game what's happening, how you should be getting around your opponent, should you be dropping deep? Shouldn't you be dropping deep? Should you run it 10 yards? Should you run it 5 yards? You'll never get anywhere in football. So it's basically common sense, Brandon.
Yep.
It is that simple, mate. I'm sorry to say, but it really is.
It is.
Really is.
Another thing I took from the game is how the centre backs move the ball. I think also that's they move the ball too slow. They're too lethargic. When even Maguire when he gets the ball, you know, he steps on the ball. He uses a little bit of time, but he don't invite pressure, so he don't create openings. As you can see, for example, with the Serbi ball. It's just like he's fumbling and using unnecessary time. And when he plays into centrally or a long ball, as they usually did against Luton to the wings, I think we have already used up the space in front of us from the wingers and the fullbacks. So in a way, they should move quicker and be more precise, also from the back line, not just the midfield.
It's true. You know, if you're slow at the back, then all I'm doing as a centre half is I'm just pulling players back, maybe leaving one up top to just, you know, stroll between the two centre halves. But ultimately, we're getting into a shape. We're getting into a shape for a reason. As soon as the transition comes in, bang, you're there. You're trying to win that ball back. Okay, that's what you're trying to do. And that's all shape is all about. It really is. Again, I talk about a lot. There's only the circumference of a pitch hasn't changed in years since its inception. You know, you've still got 11 players per 11 players, so you don't need to be a rocket scientist to work out actually where you've got to be. You know, it's not, the football isn't difficult. We make it difficult. We make it interesting by discussing it. And you know, you see all these tactics. It amazes me how you've got to do your level 1, 2, 3, Uefa A, B, C, D, E, F, G to be a coach nowadays.
But you know what? You've only got to look at. I mean, if you look at the best teams, let's say in the last 25 years, right? If you look at the football they played, it wasn't complicated. No. You know, the teams that have won the most things in the last 25 years. If you look at the teams, I mean, you look at obviously the treble team Manchester United, the football was very straightforward football. There was nothing complicated about that football at all.
Exactly.
Right? You move on. I mean, you then go to the 2008 team, our team, the Ronaldo team. That was very simple football. We played through the wings. That's what we did. We played through the wings, and we just blew teams out of the water from just sheer organization, resilience, pace, just hard work. We just ran faster than everyone. We just worked harder than everyone, and we won games. And then you go to the Mourinho's Chelsea teams and the football they played. Very simple, straightforward football. You know, you look at any team, Manchester City, even now, the football they play, the simplest football you can imagine. It's just everyone's in the right place at the right time. Everyone moves. Everyone's ready to receive the ball. Everyone's capable of, kind of resisting presses, and people are comfortable in their roles. And that's all it is. There's no rocket science to it at all.
As Stephanie comes in with a good question, she says, has our passing improved? No. Has our shooting improved? No. And that's the real problem, wasteful United.
But that's down to the players, Jarvis. You know,
Yeah, it does.
the players are the ones that are making
or the
the
manager.
Yeah, and a shooting. You know, Mark's made a point that City don't play simple football. Uncle Jimmy wasn't talking about it being simple football, but if you look at Rodri's fourth goal, what was tactical about that? The ball was lumped into the box. Yeah. They're all in there in a congregated, congested area. The ball comes out to Rodri and he strikes. you know, that's it. Somebody tell me the tactics to that. I would love to know what the tactics are, because you know there aren't there. I understand what Mark's saying, but I understand what Jimmy's saying. When
I understand Mark's argument. I get it. You might look at it and say, no, but look, they've got all these technical players, but look at how much do they have to use? You know, if you put their technical ability on a 1 to 5 scale, how many times do they have to get to a 5? You know, they're playing at 1s and 2s in terms of technical things that they have to do on the pitch, because a lot of times all they're doing is receiving the ball and passing it on, or receiving the ball, driving a little bit and passing it on.
Yeah, he's talking about the patterns. Yeah, which is what you're talking about now. Mark's talking about the patterns, and they're right. You're absolutely right. But when you immerse yourself in that game of football, Jimmy, did you play yesterday?
No, I didn't play. No.
But when you last played, okay, for example, right, when you immerse yourself in the game, what are you thinking about? You're not thinking about, actually, going to the gaffer, I should be 10 yards back. Oh, I better trot back. No, because the ball's here. I'm marking my defender, or I'm in
midfield, so I always want,
I'm in the segment where I need to be, and that's what it's all about. Football is so immersive with your brain. Football, once that whistle goes, the only really time you're actually in possession of the kind of tactics that you're talking about is when you're actually defending, when you're in a defensive proposition, because when you hit on the counter attack, you're not attacking in a 4-3-3 formation. You're attacking with as many players burst out at any one time. That's why we love football. That's why we absolutely love football. And
I just want to end this beautiful discussion, Stu, with Johan Cruyff's fantastic quote. He says, "Playing football is very simple, but playing simple football is the hardest thing there is."
Yeah,
it is. And he's talking about normally about it's all about your opposition. Everything to do with football is about your opposition.
Yeah,
it matters. I'm going to get absolutely vilified here. I know I am, and I don't really care, because it matters not what you do in the week, because what you do in the week has no resemblance to a match after 10 minutes. No resemblance whatsoever.
You know when Mike Tyson said everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? That's what football is all about.
Exactly.
You have all these plans. It's who you're facing on the day and what's happening, isn't it?
And what you're doing about it. And I made a flippant remark. Actually, it was a flippant remark, but I stand by this remark. Okay. Okay, we've got Everton, haven't we, in 2 weeks' time? Okay, it's the early kickoff, isn't it, on the Saturday, I think. So, Sean Dyche, he's on his 3 days in the south of France, soaking up the sun. Oh, we got Man United, in a couple of weeks. No problem. We'll give the lads, the first 2-3 days off, and we'll start looking at it Thursday, because he knows United are going to come in and set up as a 4-3-3. Or 4-2-3-1, because that's what we do. Yeah. Irrelevance of personality. He knows how we're going to play. He knows what you're going to do. Jimmy, you could set up for us.
I could, but I've said that. I've said that, and I've said, well, I could have set this up. Even to the point where the game's gone for 20 minutes, and I'm like, I could have done this. I could have managed this. Yeah. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. Nothing special.
No, it's what you get in the game. What you get in the game is somebody like Garnacho, who has this moment of brilliance. Someone like Kevin De Bruyne, who can see that one pass that nobody else can see. Something that Roy Keane can do, can absolutely snuff out an attack. From 5 yards away, because he knows where to be, he knows where to position himself. Casemiro last year was phenomenal at it. the way he centrally positioned himself and allowed himself the time and the space to get back to where he needed to be. All of these footballers use their brains first and their feet second, and that's the difference between what I call an elite player and a very, very, very good player.
See, when I look at Anthony, for example, and I don't mean to pick on the lad, but he's just been very disappointing for me.
Mm.
When I look at him, he's a typical example of a player who thinks with their feet first and then the brain second.
Yes.
He just does things. It's like, why do you think you're doing that? What's the, it's, you know, it's like he just does it first and then thinks, oh wait, why did I do this? I'm not sure. Why, I don't know why I was doing this. And then he doesn't really know what to do next. You know,
he does. And if it comes off, it's great. You know, Jack Grealish, right, is very, very similar. People think Jack Grealish is a great player, but you actually watch what he does. He gets the ball and I'm going to go for a free kick because I don't know what to do. If I can't get around the man, what am I going to do? So I'm just going to throw myself to the floor. I'm going to get fouled. That's what he does. He doesn't do anything in a game apart from get the ball and get fouled. Does he?
I call them memory players. They play football just out of memory. They've memorized football.
Yeah.
And they're not actually thinking on the spot. They have memorized what's supposed to happen, so they'll just try and do that. You know,
very good point, Jimmy. I see, but you can see differently when you see players like I will say Phil Foden, Martin Odegaard, for example. They are more. They use their brain when they play,
so
and use their superior technique to.
One of the players I despise out of anything because he's so damn fucking good is Rodri. I hate the bastard.
Yeah, I hate him. He's so good. He's so good.
You just want to punch him. Phil Foden, you want to punch him as well because they're damn good footballers. Rodri, yesterday, if you watch Rodri, just watch Rodri. It's fascinating what he does.
I've always said that about Modric. I mean, Modric is one of the best footballers I've ever watched. He's so good at football. He doesn't make mistakes. I mean, how can you play match after match after match and not make any mistakes? It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
When he scored yesterday, I fucking hate you, Rodri.
Kimmich is another one. Kimmich is the same.
We would love Rodri at Old Trafford, wouldn't we? We'd do anything for Rodri at Old Trafford. You know, everybody's going on about Jude at the moment, and Jude's playing some great football, but Rodri's done it for year after year after year after year. Yeah. He took his time to get into it, didn't he? But the Premier League, but he gets year in the year, and then they got some, Ruben Diaz just cocking it all up for them, but. People were looking at Chelsea yesterday saying, "Oh, they're absolutely brilliant now, Chelsea." Or we're starting to see shoots, but it was a you punch me, I'll punch you type of game yesterday, wasn't it? Whereas we, as you quite rightly said, Jimmy, on Saturday, we going through the motions in many ways, and when you're going through the motions in many ways in a game of football, it becomes more and more difficult because you start to get a bit like a bit anxiety starts creeping in your play. Yeah. You want that early goal. You want that thing to settle you. And as I say, I like Haaland, but you've got to be critical. Dip your head, you score.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fair point. Absolutely. No, I agree.
Let's just move on to the next segment because we are just 10 minutes left. We're just going to cover a few transfer rumors today, and I just want a short answer, and the VAR room can come with their comments on the rumors. And first of all, people, hit the like, subscribe, and share the stream. We need more viewers, so give us a like if you like what you see. So first of all, I just want to share this one. Let's see. Here we can start with this. And here it is. It is Ben Jacobs. He said a bit more on Jadon Sancho to Saudi. First key point, Al Ettifaq inquired on September 7th. Sancho showed no desire to move. Al Ettifaq had no plans to try in January. They've been told a loan must come with a 50 million obligation to buy. And later today, I also read that Juventus were Sancho's transfer and wanted him on a loan and pay the wages. Do you think Sancho will move in January?
Not a chance. Not a chance. Not a chance. Unless the this ownership situation is resolved before that transfer window, it might change things a little bit. I think for outgoings, it might change things. I think we might see some players leaving. I don't think we'll see any incomings, even if the ownership changes. But I can't see how Sancho would leave. I can't see it. Commercially, I can't see how they can do a deal. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I'm with Jimmy on that one, Jarvis. If Sancho leaves or stays, makes absolutely zero difference to our cash flow because Juventus won't pay him 300 grand a week. We'll end up paying 200 grand of that, 450 grand of that. So it's an irrelevance whether he leaves or stays. Unfortunately, it's still going to cost us money either way.
Yeah, the only thing I can see as a positive is it maybe if he plays good, it will increase his sell-on value in the summer.
He's done. He's finished. He's no team will come and pay 50 million quid for a petulant little child. Those days he's done. He doesn't realise he's that dumb, or his agent's that dumb, that stupid, that what you're seeing, people will not risk it with you. They're not going to pay that type of money. We're going to be stuck with him for a long, long time because
they're not, and that's the problem that he's got. That teams won't come in for him.
It's just a baby, an absolute baby. He'll end up going to somewhere like a Tafe, somewhere like our number 11 had to go to rebuild his career. If you're a sporting director, a chairman, any kind of brain, you're not going to give Man United 50 million quid for a petulant little child.
No. I see here Scotty at the wheel comes in and says Sanchez is an asset on the depth like Maguire depends on the ownership.
He is an asset, but he's a depreciating asset now, unfortunately. His value is just diminishing by the day.
Yeah. The next rumor of the day is Victor Oshimen. He had a comment today and he said, I don't have any favorite Premier League team, but I own 2 jerseys, Chelsea and Man United. Many friends of mine are Chelsea fans and few are Man United fans. And he's actually flirting with the Premier League and he's making himself available.
I'm laughing, Jarvis, is because that absolute numpty in America called Todd Bowley will be rubbing his hands together and offering some stupid.
I think he's going to go to Chelsea.
We won't even get a sniff of that.
Would you take Oshimen at Man United?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, really. Our ideal buy was Harry Kane. You needed Harry Kane in there alongside Haaland so that Haaland could learn from Harry Kane. There's no doubt in Oshimen's talent and goal-scoring ability, but we need somebody that Haaland can learn from, and Harry Kane would have been perfect for us. So I don't know whether Oshimen's worth it for us or not.
I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I think if we were, because he would cost about the same as what Harry Kane would have cost. So for me, I think if you're going to pay that level of money for a striker, I think we should probably look elsewhere. I really do. I don't. I rate him, but I don't 100 million rate him. Not for me. No.
The problem we've got is that Brentford are likely to put. I mean, look, Ivan Toney's on the market, isn't he? That could determine where Oshimen goes.
I would rather go for Toney, to be honest. Personally, I think he's a better striker for the Premier League.
Yeah. I see here the Superfly says Jim's a Chelsea fan, so he'll be going there. I see people like Scotty at this wheel. He said I'd rather go for Marcus Leonardo if we are buying a young striker.
Again,
I don't think people want.
What if you join into the Haaland mode? Lovely striker. Don't get me wrong, but we need somebody proven right now. No offense about Haaland, but me and you had a conversation. We said in the summer it needed to be Haaland and another.
Yeah, it needs to be. So for the I stopped sharing. I have to go back again. Sorry. Share screen. Yes, and here we are. No, where is it? Tactical glitch is this one.
Taremi. Royden
Yeah.
says is talking about Taremi. Who's Taremi?
Taremi.
Yeah.
Ooh, where's he playing?
Could he enlighten us, Royden? I don't think. Do you know him, Jarvis? Taremi?
I know his name, but I can't have. I don't have it on the top of my mind. But going back to this latest rumor, it's Saudi Pro League clubs are willing to offer about 100 million euros for Bruno Fernandes.
Take it.
Put it in the bin, or you would take it.
Look, you take that. If 100 million's on the cards, why wouldn't you take it? I would take it. Yeah, I'd take the money. I would. Yeah,
You would?
Yeah. If it's 100 million quid, take the money.
VAR room, would you take 100 million for Bruno in January? Yes or no? I see here that we talked about Taremi. Yeah, that's the Iranian striker who plays at
He's
Porto.
Iranian. He plays for Porto, doesn't he? Right,
Yeah,
okay.
he scored against England in the World Cup.
Okay.
And he's actually scoring a lot of goals. But he's older. He's like, I think he's 32 years old. Never played in the Prem.
No. I mean, finding a striker that outside the Premier League that can operate in the Premier League is very difficult, isn't it? I mean, we had it with, we've been lucky with Rude and, okay, we had him from PSV, Robin Van Persie, we had from Arsenal. We've had some great strikers, but yeah, a lot of people are saying take the money for Bruno.
Yeah, I see here Scotty at the wheel. I take that. Red J says yes.
100 million's a lot of dough, isn't it?
Mark says no.
It's a tough one, but striker wise, we should have gone for Kane. For whatever reason, we didn't. Couldn't afford him. Whatever we did, or they wouldn't do business with us. But we should have gone for Kane. But he'll come good, Haaland. Will he? Just needs a bit of help at the minute or so.
I think if we had a competent team working on that deal, we could have got Kane.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right.
And this is not me. I'm not slighting Murto and that team at all. But I think the way that they were operating was on the basis that Harry Kane is unattainable. And I think that was that's where they were starting from. And I think Spurs knew that. And I think they knew that they could pull our pants down. But if we had a competent team that started that deal earlier on, knowing it was a very possible deal, and they demonstrated that, no, we actually want to do this deal from much earlier on, I think that deal could have been done.
I think Kane would have forced the move if we'd gone in.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think he would have forced the move.
He might. So over to the last, talking about strikers. You can read it here. It's Jay Monty who comes out and say the fact that Haaland is on the verge of breaking Andy Cole's 28-year-old record of the quickest player to 50 Premier League goals is a timidly reminder how disrespected Andy Cole was.
No pens, so forget Haaland. No pens.
Yeah.
Andy Cole, I don't ever recall him ever taking a pen for us or Newcastle. No pens.
No, I don't remember. No.
I'm pretty sure. So he's done it. All goals. Haaland's got.
I can't think of a single one.
Haaland's got 8 pens, 9 pens. He's definitely over 6, isn't he? Haaland for pens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's taken. I think he takes all of them now.
Takes all the pens, doesn't he? Yeah, takes all their pens. So yeah, Andy Cole, no pens. I'm pretty sure. If you can let us know in the VAR room, but I'm pretty sure there was no pens.
Yeah.
Correct, Stu.
But is Andy Cole one of the greatest Premier League strikers?
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Underrated.
100%. No question. For me, no question. If I was to list, and this is, a lot of people won't agree, but for me, it's very specific reasons why I love Andy Cole. Because for me, I like strikers who they don't have different game plans for different defenders as such. So they don't complicate things. They know that they're always going to be smarter than the defender, and they have that confidence. Wayne Rooney had it, Andy Cole had it, Alan Shearer had it. It's this mentality that I'm better than the defender. I know that for a fact. I just have to do something else extra for that moment, and I'm going to get the goal. And for me, top 5, easy. Top 5 striker in the Premier League.
Yeah.
For me, he's the best exponent of a striker with his back to goal. He had an ability to take the ball on at the edge of the 6-yard box, turn and score. Great finisher for me. Great finisher. Yeah.
See, Lilis comes in here and said Cole was a great striker. Mark comes in with a comment which said that White York was better. Mark, where was White York from? Was it he from Trinidad?
Trinidad
and Tobago.
Tobago. Yep.
Same as Mark. So he's biased in a way. Yeah, I see here Mark comes in and say, yeah, he's from Trinidad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Andy Cole was one of the best. I remember him very well, but he scored a lot of goals for Newcastle first when they were playing in the Championship. He came in and scored a lot of goals. I think it was the first season with Newcastle in the Premier League, and then Alex Ferguson came in and bought him. I think it was a Premier League record at the moment. I'm not sure how much money it was, but it was 10 million or 5 million, but 7. Yeah,
7 million, and changed the way that he played, by the way. And people forget that. People forget that Andy Cole changed the way, or Sir Alex changed the way that Cole played for Manchester United than he did for Newcastle and Bristol Rovers. I think it was not City. I think it was Bristol Rovers before that. So he changed a lot.
Yeah. So that sums it up. We have gone through all the talking points. Any last words, guys, before we round up?
Neil Driscoll just quickly asked me who replaces Bruno. I go for Palhinha from Fulham without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, very good shout.
If we sell Bruno,
I would agree with that. Yeah,
he's linked to Bayern. Heavily linked.
He was linked to Bayern. I think we could steal a march on Bayern. I thought he was.
I wouldn't be surprised because
nominal against us.
They lost Gravenberch, haven't they? So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
They've lost Gravenberch here to where he went to Liverpool, didn't they? Gravenberch
went to Liverpool, yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if they are going for him.
Yeah, but we should do everything we can to get Palhinha. I thought he was. Not really. Not really. Bruno's a better 8 actually than he is a 10 in my humble opinion, and Palhinha is a fantastic 8.
He's a great 8.
He's a great 8. He's a great
proper 8.
We just played Bruno higher up, Matty, but Bruno could play an 8. He's got the engine. Palhinha is just a great 8 for me.
Yeah, I see here. Matty says that Palhinha is a defensive midfielder.
Fulham play him as a defensive midfielder. He plays as a 6 and an 8. He would fit perfectly into our side. He'd be ideal.
Imagine having him and Caicedo in your midfield. Fucking hell, Jesus Christ!
You will be a force to reckon with.
Be something.
That'd be tremendous, Palhinha for us.
Yeah.
Can I just say again, Lillis, that Bruno plays in the 10 at Man United, but he's an 8. That's where he plays. This is actually I've got a bit of a thing about people who say that you can only play a CDM, an 8 or a 10 in midfield. It's absolute bollocks. If you're a midfielder, you can play all positions.
That's what I keep saying. I keep saying to people, these 6s and 8s. This is a new thing for me. I never.
It is for me.
In that way,
It is for me. I think it goes down to FIFA again, doesn't it? CDM. I'd never heard of a CDM.
No, I didn't know that. Roy Keane was a CDM. I didn't know. I never looked at football. That it was never I never looked at it that way. It's just
He was the CDM.
I knew that Sir Alex either played. I tell you what, I did know, which I didn't call it that, but I knew that we either played a double pivot or a single pivot, and I knew that. I understood that dynamic of it. So I knew sometimes he plays with two, sometimes he plays with one. You know, I could see that. But
bearing in mind, Palhinha can't play any other position. But I remember Ryan Giggs was a left winger and turned out to be a fantastic midfield player because that's, you know, Palhinha, trust me, Palhinha could fill Bruno's role. No problem. No messing. No messing. And I'll stand by that. I'll stand by that. Palhinha could replace Bruno. I'll stand by that.
I remember Roy Keane playing as a CDM in Championship Manager 94. So he was a CDM on the computer.
On the computer, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we are. I think we will wrap up. We are 2 hours and 5 minutes into the stream. It's been a good stream. We have had Tom here. He had to go. We had the phone call. Uncle Jimmy came in and replaced him brilliantly. And we have had Stu here with all his Palhinha thoughts in the number 10. So if you don't agree with the live comments and have a discussion, we will reply there afterwards. Did you have any last words, Jimmy, before we go?
No, just I just hope they can keep that structured performance up. At least, you know, even if we don't win matches, just at least show us that structure that they showed that they can play. So, you know, I hope we see that more going forward, man. But I hate these international breaks. Don't like them at all.
No, I hate them as well.
2 weeks of poor football. But anyway, guys, before you go, if you haven't, hit the like, subscribe, share. Yes. And now we will close up the VAR room. I see Scotty at the wheel says, later, guys, I wish you all good mental health. And I think that's the good final words. And I will say peace, love, and go bananas. And have a good one, guys.
Have a good one, guys. Bless
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Mark? Oh, you're not ready. Where's my producer when I need him?
That's all, folks.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching Mufc Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.
Top show, that. Enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I think we won the